You must have seen this in accounting. We break down the cash flow statement into three parts: the operating activities, investment activities, and financing activities. This is good for reviewing the historicals and looking backwards. But in FP&A, we care about what is ahead. That is where the cash flow forecasts are used, which helps us see what cash is coming in and going out over the next few weeks and months. Most people don't think about this until there is a firefighting situation, like salaries is due next week and there is not enough money in the bank. By that point, it's usually too late. Cash forecasts are not just for companies that are in trouble. It helps all companies to spot issues early, make arrangements for necessary loans, avoid unnecessary debt, build better relationships with vendors and suppliers and customers. Overall, it helps plan growth more confidently and you feel more in control. I was looking at my YouTube channel analytics recently and I noticed that 80% of who watch this channel regularly haven't subscribed to it yet. If you have ever enjoyed any of our videos and found them valuable, could you do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button? This helps the channel way more than you realize. The bigger this channel gets, the more we can reinvest in creating videos and resources for FP&A for you. Now, coming back to the video, before we get into the cash forecast, let's first try and understand what exactly is cash flow. Cash flow is the movement of actual cash in and out of your business. It is not revenue, it is not profit, it is cold hard cash. When customers pay you, that is an inflow. When you pay salaries, rent, and vendors, that is an outflow. Now, most companies look at their cash flow statement broken down into three categories: the operating activities, which is the day to day business activities, investment activities, which is buying and selling assets, and financing activities, which is loans, repayments, and equity. This is great, but this is all historical data and it tells you what already happened. On the other hand, a cash flow forecast is your future view. It estimates how much cash will come in and go out over a specific period. This could be weekly, monthly, or quarterly. And this is a big deal because even profitable companies can run out of cash. You could have sales on paper, but if your customers delay payments and your bills are due, you are stuck. That is why a cash flow forecast isn't just a finance tool, it is a survival tool. Now, you might be wondering, and a lot of people also ask me this question: why do we prepare a cash flow forecast on a weekly basis? Why not just stick to monthly or quarterly cash forecast? So, here is the answer: cash doesn't move out of your bank on a monthly basis, it moves in and out daily. Vendors get paid on different dates. In many countries, salaries are paid out twice a month. Customers usually pay at random. A monthly view smoothens all of these spikes. But when you look at it on a weekly basis, the weekly cash flow forecast catches them. The weekly format gives you better precision, timing, and quicker reactions. You can spot issues early, plan ahead, and actually do something before you run out of cash and cash flow is a problem. And the sweet spot is 13 weeks. That is one full quarter, which is long enough for you to see the trends and short enough for you to stay accurate. It gives you enough time to prepare, but not so far out that it becomes a guesswork. Now, let's talk about when you should be using the weekly cash flow forecast. And the answer might surprise you. Most people think that weekly cash flow forecasting is just for companies who are in distress or when you are low on cash or under pressure from lenders. But honestly, that's too late. The best time to build a weekly cash forecast is before you need it. If you are a growing startup, then you need to manage cash burn. If you are a mature business, you want to avoid borrowing unnecessarily. If you are a business which is seasonal, then forecasting cash helps you ride out the slow months. And if you are in a tight margin industry, then knowing your liquidity position each week can be the difference between survival and shutdown. I have seen so many companies with strong revenues crash because they did not track cash properly. And I have seen businesses stay afloat just because they could anticipate a shortfall 3 weeks in advance and adjust quickly. The bottom line: if cash matters to your business, and I'm sure it always does, then weekly cash flow forecasting is for you. On a quick side note, if you are serious about FP&A, you need real world practical FP&A skills. 8 out of 10 CFOs says that it's tough to find good FP&A talent. And that's exactly why we created the CGFPA, Certified Global FP&A Professional Program. It is a 6-month in-depth FP&A certification designed to help you become more confident in your FP&A role. If that sounds like something you need, the links are in the description. Do check it out. Alright, let's get into how building a weekly cash flow forecast isn't as complicated as it sounds. Here is a simple step by step breakdown. In step number 1, you set up your Excel or Google Sheet. Across the top, list down your weeks, usually 13 weeks ahead. Down the side, you break your cash flow into two main parts. The first one is the cash inflows, which is usually customer payments, interest income, refunds, etc. And second is the cash outflow, which is payroll, rent, vendor payments, loan repayments, etc. In step number two, you start with the actual data. You fill in 3 to 4 weeks of actual cash data from your bank account. This gives you a baseline to start the forecast from. In step number three, you forecast the cash inflows. Think about how does your business collect money. If you have subscription or contracts, use those dates. If customers pay after invoices, estimate based on your past payment history. The key here is to stay realistic when you estimate the cash inflows. Step number four is forecasting your cash outflows. List your fixed expenses first, like rent, staff, salaries, utilities, etc. Then add variable costs like inventory, marketing, and one-off expenses. The pro tip here is to flag critical vendors separately. They get paid first if the cash is tight. Next, step number five is to calculate the net cash flows and the ending balance. Each week, you subtract the total cash outflows from the inflows. That is your net cash flow. Then you update your ending cash balance week by week. This gives you a running picture of how your bank balance will change in the coming week. That brings us to the sixth and the final step, which is analyzing and identifying red flags. Now, notice any of the weeks your ending cash balance dips too low or becomes negative, you need to pay attention to that. That is a cash crunch which you now know in advance. You could plan ahead by speeding up collections, delaying non critical payments, and using credit lines strategically. So, this is how this powerful cash flow forecast tool can become an early warning signal to help you plan ahead. This is one of the biggest myths and a mistake. I've heard people say that we are profitable, so we don't need weekly cash flow forecasts. That is a trap because profit is not equal to cash. You can have strong revenues, great margins, and still run into a cash crunch if your customers delay payments or your expenses spike. Overall, the weekly cash flow forecasts give you early warning signals. You catch the dip in liquidity before they hurt operations. You don't wait for your accountant to say that we are out of cash. You already know that what is coming ahead. And even in good times, cash flow forecasting can help in many ways. You can negotiate early payment discount with suppliers. You can cut unnecessary borrowing and reduce your interest cost. You can decide when to invest in new hires, marketing, or inventory with more confidence. It also creates a culture of discipline because cash forces you to stay grounded. Accounting standards like US GAAP and IFRS can mask the reality, but cash tells you the truth. Healthy businesses that forecast weekly cash flow become stronger, leaner, and more resilient. So there you have it, weekly cash flow forecast broken down step by step. It is not just for struggling businesses, it is for smart ones that want to stay in control, plan ahead, and want to avoid nasty surprises. If you want to start today, I have linked a free 13-week cash flow forecast template in the description. Go check it out. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment below. Do you use weekly forecasts in your businesses? Why or why not? Remember, profit is theory and cash is king. See you in the next video.